This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 420 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Total Saddle Fit. Today, we are really excited to be joined by Hilary Hebert and her student, Sarah Spaulding. We are also going to bring you some tips about grant applications.
Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, hi, Phil.
Hi, Reese. How are you doing?
I'm good today. How are you?
I'm tired.
Yeah, you guys had another horse show, right?
Yeah, a long horse show. And you know what? I had to get up and I had to ride at 8 o'clock for second rider in the ring every day.
I in some ways, I prefer that. Like, I prefer to sort of get up, get my horses braided, fed, and ride. And then I really hate waiting to the afternoon.
I agree.
That's just a long time to wait. So I like to sort of, I actually think 10 o'clock's my favorite show time.
I think 9 or 10 o'clock would be nice. 8 was a little early. And then just hanging out till the end of the show to be, coaching my other students. It was hard to, have lunch and then pick up the energy again and get going, especially by the third day. So we had 2 beautiful days of weather. I know I talk about the weather too much, but that's a Canadian thing. Okay.
It's Canada. Yeah, it's Canada.
And then the third day I had to get up, especially early again to ride in the rain. So.
Well, that's hard, by the third. Third day, 3-day shows I find are really hard. I don't know about you, but by the third day, it's really the fourth day because you've gotten there a day before, and typically, by the third day of showing, everybody's tired. So, I actually try not to do 3-day shows if I don't have to do them.
I like it, because the way it works for us is you do the division, right? So you show each of the classes, and then your division champion will come from riding test 1, 2, and 3, and using those scores to see who the winner is, right?
Really? We don't.
So that's how we're used to doing it. Yeah.
Oh, see, we don't do it that way.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool because, if you're the third level champion, you've been successful
at 3 different.
Yeah, at the 3 different tests.
That's so smart. That's really cool. Yeah, we don't have that.
And the same, as for small tour.
Sure.
These small tour and big tour, you're kind of used to that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But, since there are 3 tests in each of the divisions, that sort of works really nicely as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I love it. Yeah, we don't have that. So.
Well, that's the advantage of having a 3-day show. Of course, we have our smaller shows will be, one day. Sometimes there's a few of them that are just Saturday, Sunday. But any of the big shows will be your 3-day. And then, and so everybody, from the Grand Prix riders, the real professional riders, to your walk trot amateurs will be showing all kind of at the same show. It's really big. It's held at the Caledon Equestrian Park. That's where most of the big shows are held, where the Pan Am Games were. So we got great facilities, and I like going and really focusing. But like I said, the last day, getting up early in the morning, rain, I had really kind of a very lackluster, not great test. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, that's a bummer.
Fun, right? We go
on
again
to the next one.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe. I think.
Oh, you got a little break. That'll be nice. Awesome. I love it.
Doesn't mean I won't be traveling to the other shows, but I personally won't be riding.
Won't be riding. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So it's good.
I love it. Well, we have a great show, and everybody's been asking, where Hilary Hebert is, and she is back. So we're going to start with her interview.
We haven't got to talk to her in quite a few months, and
I know.
But she's been so
crazy
busy.
Really
she's going to tell you guys all about it, what she's been going on in her life, including a little vacation, which sounds really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Electrolytes. Who needs them? Your horse, that's who. Electrolytes perform critical functions within your horse's body. They help regulate nerve and muscle functions by carrying electrical impulses between cells. In addition, electrolytes assist the body in maintaining a healthy fluid balance by controlling your horse's desire to drink. When your horse loses significant amounts of electrolytes and fluids, problems such as dehydration, muscle cramping, fatigue, tying up, and colic may occur. Even in mild forms, these conditions can have a negative impact on your horse's ability to perform and recover after exercise. Top riders and veterinarians turn to Summer Games Electrolyte to keep their horse healthy in hot weather, and you can too. Summer Games replenishes the electrolytes and trace minerals lost when your horse sweats, and it stimulates the thirst response so your horse continues to drink and stay properly hydrated. So when the going gets hot, trust Summer Games Electrolyte from Kentucky Performance Products to protect your horse.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, we are so excited to have our contributing new co-host. I'm sorry, I'm putting it out there. Hilary Hebert is back on the show. Hilary, welcome back.
Hi, guys.
So everybody has been asking us, what's going on with Hilary? So what's going on with Hilary?
We need an update.
We've been missing you.
Well, first of all, I need to go away more so that I can feel loved because I was just informed that people were asking about me, which makes me feel much more special than I do on a daily basis. No, I'm just joking. My clients and family love me. So I actually was just on vacation. Sadly, it's exciting I went on vacation, but it's the first time that I have taken a day off without visiting family to show them when I had my new baby a couple of years ago, or going for Thanksgiving or whatever. It's the first time I took a day off and just with my immediate family went somewhere since 2013.
Well, yeah, we know it's hard.
Yep.
So everyone listening, become a professional dressage trainer and own a barn because it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
So, and I was quite busy because I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show or not, but we've been renovating our property for now what's been going on 6 years. And one of the reasons we've been, here so much, but we just finished the addition of 12 stalls. So we now are a 25 stall barn. And if you build it, they will come. We actually have Brookledge dropping off another horse tomorrow at noon. And they come so often now, the driver actually has my cell phone number. So
that's good. This is good.
So it's really good, but we're actually full right now, and we went from 10 stalls to 25. So that explains also why I have been very busy. So we've had the opportunity to do some cool things too, because we had 12 empty stalls, which is, pretty unusual at most private barns. And as a result of that, we got to do a really cool thing with the Dressage for Kids with London Gray's group. Where we hosted, it's called Team now, but a lot of people know it as EDAP, the Emerging Dressage Athlete Program. We were able to have the junior young riders come in to work with London, and we had the 12 empty stalls. So they come for the weekend and stay overnight. And it's almost like, a camp program or like a incentive training program where they're here from Friday until Sunday. And it's, more than just lessons. So we've now had London twice. We're looking at having Lilo come another time. And then London's actually going to come back, and we may have to do a tent outside because the 12 horses come in for that. And we'll be doing that again in November for our regional junior young riders.
And Hilary, can you just introduce London for any of our international listeners or anybody who doesn't know who she is?
So if you don't know, you should, because she is one of the most talented. Not only is she was an international rider before retiring from competition. Some people also know her as the mentor and coach for Courtney King, who was also an Olympian in her own right. So she is both an international caliber rider and trainer. She also was my instructor through the USDF instructor certification program. So she's one of the faculty, and she hosts she is the brainchild and creator and, everything of Dressage for Kids, which is, its own pipeline for younger riders to come up through the levels, similar to what you would consider as like a pony club, where they have to have practical knowledge. At the competitions, they are scored on everything from their equitation to how clean their tack is to written exams. And it really makes horse people as opposed to just competition riders. So she now is hosting, kind of a winter intensive. That's actually what it's called, down in Florida for people who come down. And again, it's an immersive program for people who are interested in a genuine apprenticeship working student position. So she's not only a phenomenal trainer and coach and rider, but also really has fostered the development of a lot of people in our sport, from the ground up.
Yeah, the juniors especially, lots of great programs, and it's fantastic. And she's a fantastic person, and so I think just everybody all over the world should know that, because there's not very many people who do focus on, not just she's high performance, but also just you want to know more about dressage. It's really cool, and it's really important, and I think it's great. Thank you, Hilary, for bringing that up. Yeah.
So back to what she does with these EDAP clinics, she thanks to extremely generous support from people who are, a lot of whom are like the who's who of riders and sponsors in the sport. She spends almost every weekend when she's not in Florida going around the country doing these like junior young rider intensive programs over every weekend. And it's very interesting because she has a lot of rules. And I am now not afraid to sort of mention that she does have a reputation for being a little bit strict and tough on people. But it's been interesting to have her here as a non-rider so I can kind of observe from the outside, because the girls come in, or, the boys, and we just had
Thanks
all
for that.
girls the last thing.
That was for Phil.
So
that's for me.
The junior young riders come in with their horses, and they are expected to keep their horses as if they're at a show facility, right? So you have to take care of your horse. You have to do everything yourself. She strongly discourages parents to do anything but just be there for support. So they're not to be packing your horse up, braiding and everything. And she does some neat things where she expects that the barn is kept clean as if it was ready for photos at any moment. She also challenges people to braid their horse and wrap it, not because she expects you to be kind of prissy and perfect, but she wants to see that you can do it before you go to a recognized show so that you don't feel embarrassed if it's not up to standard. So it gives people a chance to practice that. She also requires that everybody audit all of the other lessons and has a notebook with them. So she gets into the habit of, journaling, watching other people, learning from the ground. So that's really great. And then my favorite part, because as all your listeners are learning, I like to talk a lot, is there is a lot of lectures. So there is morning lectures, lunchtime lectures, and evening lectures. And those are interspersed with exercise classes. And She also doesn't really let people have candy. So it's all supposed to be healthy meals. And we've had lectures on nutrition and how to eat for energy and, making sure that you're not fatigued from eating nothing but candy and sugary sodas. And then also she does lectures talking about things like one time she talked about the half halt and sort of explained it more. And then I have given talks on kind of making the decision to go pro or not. And then I have had now in the 2 times also a panel discussion from some young professionals about what it's like to become a trainer. Someone else, it was how she juggled this with not becoming a professional and going into the workforce. So it's just really interesting because it's a very holistic approach to things versus sometimes when you see the clinics, people come in, they ride, and then they leave. And it's, there's not necessarily a guarantee that the horsemanship is correct. And also they're not taking advantage of the opportunity to learn by watching the other lesson.
I think because I've seen this program and I saw it in Florida, and I will be honest, this was similar model to, not completely, but when I was growing up, USDF had the similar program with Conrad Schumacher. And it was, you would go and they didn't do the barn inspections and that type of thing, but you would go, you were expected to watch everyone's lesson. You had a theory lesson at lunch, and then same thing, you rode in the afternoon. There was another dinner, and there were so many things that came out of that period of my life. And I had never heard of dressage theory before I went to those lectures. And I was 14 when I started going. I mean, and I, one time Mr. Schumacher asked the group, how do you do a proper canter transition? And, somebody said something, he called on someone, and it was like earth shattering to me. Like, wait, you don't just like put your outside leg back and hope, there's actually some theory involved with that. And in my life, those were the clinics and the time that made me think about becoming a professional rider. But also I went to these kind of, it was 2 or 3 times a year, we would go to these clinics, and the people that I went with are all very good friends, and a lot of them are on the show with me now, and Phil now. These were when we all started to sort of formulate what it was to be a dressage rider. So these are such amazing clinics, but what you're saying is also some things that you should do in your daily life, or if you go to a clinic and you're participating, watching the lessons, journaling. All of these things are so incredibly important that you will get your money's worth if you sit there and watch, not just pay your lesson fee, but sit and watch everyone else and ask questions at an appropriate time with the instructor. So I think there's a lot of things that can come out of what you're saying that applies to everyone else, that this is really, it is an education. And
this is how to become a dressage rider. It's not just, take a few lessons and, but you got to become a total athlete. You got to be thinking about your health. And you got to think about how much you can get out of other people's lessons. That doesn't cost a single thing, right? If you go with a notebook and you jot down some ideas, I always run across these notebooks that I, kind of fill out, or a piece of paper here or there that, that I come across from a previous clinic, and I look at it again and go, oh yeah, that's a really smart point. Or, just a reminder, right? And you have it down on paper or a notebook or in your computer or whatever, that things that you can go back and look at, and you can think about it like in a totally different context, having learned something else, then you go back to it. But yeah, there's lots of opportunities to learn out there, lots of ways to figure out how to ride better. So it's an awesome program that she runs for the kids, but we need something for the adults too, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
Or for sure the adult amateurs that maybe started riding a bit later, and
I didn't do it, but mistake me if I'm wrong. Did you guys do at Hassler's the Young Horse weekends?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where Philip and I actually met.
That's where it was.
Is that similar in way? I don't know, because I haven't done it, which I'm jealous, because every time I try to, it's like skipping a year. But Is that similar in that where like you kind of are, I don't mean networking, like I met someone and now we're going to like buy a horse together, but like talking with peers, discussing theory and having it be that you're like immersing yourself. Is it similar?
Yes,
absolutely.
Very much.
Yeah,
and it is. There's a lot of networking too. I mean, obviously at that particular conference, and they at this point they did it for 10 years. And really the network that came out of that group is amazing. And that's exactly what it was for. It was for networking. It was for meeting people.
It was just immersing professionals in a similar setting to what Lendon was doing. So that it was just talking about dressage at a certain level, and for people who are already trainers, and then to sort of bring them to the next stage with a particular focus on riding young horses and trying to develop younger horses for. This thing started when the World Young Horse Dressage Championships was also new, and so they wanted to promote American horses or American riders, North American horses and riders, to be able to compete, at a world stage in those type of young horse classes as well. So, yeah, lots of great programs out there, and you should always be looking out for what's going on and trying to get into things like this because they can be great.
Yeah, I wish there were more. Yeah. I think that there are years where it seems like there are so many opportunities. There was the Global Forum North America, and then there was the Trainers Conference, and then there, was the Young Horse Program, and then there's other years where I feel like, and I know I'm kind of focused just on from the professional perspective, I wish there was more in general for everyone of all, whether you're amateur or professional, but I wish that for myself that there was just more of them. And it, I can only have so much stuff going on at the farm, but I'm sure that you guys agree that it's just, I definitely think that you see the same people going to these things because you can ride and ride and ride and teach and teach and teach, but it's a little bit like, you get stale where if you don't have the capacity to interact with someone, whether it's in a clinic setting or just talking with your peers, you don't have any way to be bouncing ideas off of people. And that's where I think, you kind of become linear in how much you can learn, but nothing kind of, mixes together. And it makes it so I think people get a little bit focused on going forward and they don't pause to sort of say, am I capable of discussing this, first of all? Do I have the patience to sit and really think about it, or am I just on autopilot? And I think it's important from all riders' perspectives to really stop for a second, because you start to say, okay, I am having this issue, for example, with the changes, and you're like, I'm going to drill it tomorrow. The next day I'm going to drill it. And you get, I don't mean it in the sense of every single day, but you get kind of hyper focused and you don't pause for a moment to think that maybe instead of, putting the square peg in the hole, it may be that it's a whole different hole that you should have been looking at, but you're so adamant about getting it done, you kind of lose track of that.
Yeah. And I think it's important, just as always, sometimes you end up having to run it or find someone to run or
help. I mean, that's it. Like, it's kind of a personal responsibility like you're doing, Hilary, with, I know you run a bunch of clinics and you bring in clinicians and stuff. Like, it's not going to happen if people don't do it, right? And, the things that have already happened, are because of great people, great organizers, and great sponsors and stuff like this. So even if you run a small thing at your farm, or you say to your trainer, hey, you know what, I'd be interested in taking responsibility for a mini clinic or something. It just takes the people to initiative and to do it. I mean, this stuff is hard. And just even people who run horse shows, any of this stuff is not because you want to make $1 million. It's because you enjoy it and you want to bring people, a community together. And so, and that's, a little bit like what we try and do with this show, right? We get to talk about dressage every week. We really enjoy it. So just any little thing.
They don't make $1 million, by the way.
No, we don't make $1 million.
Unfortunately. But I think it's a challenge for all of us. And a couple weeks ago at my farm, and it just came up, and it was actually not a horse-related event per se, but we did a Women in Business Day at my farm, and it was really successful for the first go. Everyone's like, when are we doing this again? It was a lunch, and we had several presenters that had, and they had booths, and we did it in the indoor, and everybody bought some food, so it wasn't so complicated for me to organize, and everyone had a really, really good time. And it only really took about 3 hours out of my day, but I felt like it was super important to do it. So, if anyone's running these kind of programs, let us know. We'd like to highlight them.
Yeah, let's promote them on this show at least, right?
We can promote them on the show.
We'll certainly give shout outs.
Yeah, it does, and it really helps the community.
Well, and I think ideas like that, Reese, are half the battle. Don't you agree? Like, for me, I'm never going to come up with the idea of these team clinics with London and facilitate something. It is exhausting to do it, right, the first time around. But even now that I have had it pre-planned, and Mary Herbst is phenomenal and helps organize these things, the first time was tough. The second one was pretty easy. I'm now at a point where I have no problem signing up to do 2 more in a year because I could practically do it with my eyes closed. And so I think that's part of it, is people calling in to your show to describe what they're doing. This is like sort of a tangent, but I think, and I'm only paraphrasing because I'm not entirely sure how they're doing it, but in Utah, my friend Sydney, who she was scribing at the L program I went through out there, they have something, I think it's called the Short Tour. And this, I think, is awesome. I don't know if it's a recognized show or schooling shows, but they do, I think you do a training level and first level test, and then it's a first level freestyle. And so they have it, so it's like doing, a CDI, except for you're doing training first level and your first freestyle. And then there's prizes really for it, like you're doing a CDI. And I think that's exactly, awesome. You guys are right. It's the idea of coming up with these ideas like Reese's and then sharing them so then someone can kind of just bounce off of it as opposed to having to start
exactly. Just run with your idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it doesn't, I think you think, oh my gosh, has it be this amazing thing? Mine started because my sister is selling Arbonne, if anyone needs information, but no, my sister was selling a new product and, needed some help and needed some people, and it just sort of spun off from there. And it ended up being a really, really cool event and not super hard to run. So we'd love to highlight these that bring our community together. I think we all need that, and I think it's really important. So Hilary, thank you so much for coming on and telling us what you're doing and where you've been and all of that good stuff. And so how do our listeners find you online?
So you guys can go to dressagetoday.com. And I would encourage you guys to check it out, because in terms of coming up with some ideas, there's a lot of stuff in the, Dressage Life section that's going to give you an idea for what other GMOs are doing that might help you come up with some thoughts of what you can do on your own.
Fantastic. We love it. Well, we can't wait to hear from you next month. Well, Phil, we're bringing lots of stuff back this week. We have had multiple requests for adult amateur spotlights. We used to do this before, and we've gotten several requests for it. So we have a fantastic adult amateur rider, Sarah Spaulding, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how she just got her bronze medal. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Well, you are so cute. You are a really busy lady, and you were telling us off air about your very important job in Washington, D.C. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do before we get down to the horses?
Sure, absolutely. So I work for the American Association for Cancer Research as a senior regulatory science and policy analyst, which basically just means that I act as a liaison between the FDA and some of our best and brightest cancer researchers here in America.
That is so cool. So tell us, besides having a really high-powered job in DC, you also are you are USDF's latest bronze medalist, and that is so very exciting. So can you tell us a little bit about your horse and a little bit about your journey you guys have taken together?
Oh my goodness, yes, I'd be happy to. So my horse, his name is Garth, or SRC Parrot Bay, is a Frisian Arabian cross that I bred with Adrian Hancock Leong of Louisville, Kentucky. Let's see, almost 14 years ago now. And I originally intended him to be a hunter. That was my goal. But he saw the world a little differently, and he wanted to be a dressage horse. My trainer at the time got tired of me breaking PVC poles, trying to teach him to become a hunter. So we moved on from there.
Yeah, Sarah, tell us about the cross. Now, was the Arab the mare, or was the Frisian the mare?
Yeah, so the Arabian was the mare, and the sire was a Frisian stallion that has had a big impact in the Kentucky region. His name was Loki.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of that horse. And tell us how this cross would make a good hunter. I'm just trying to figure that out too.
So Adrian bred a lot of horses for the Arabian circuit, and a number of Loki's offspring went on to be very successful hunters. And actually, one of his full siblings was a great hunter, but Garth did not agree, so he wanted to be a dressage horse.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, I love it. So tell us, after you sort of left the hunter land and came to dressage land, tell us a little bit about that transition and how training him to third level has gone.
Oh gosh, it's been quite a journey. So as I went from being an undergrad to a graduate student, I failed to learn how to give up on the riding dream. So instead of selling my horse like every good graduate student should, I didn't, and just kept going. So I plugged along all through graduate school. My mentor in graduate school used to like to say, you can work whichever 14 hours of the day that you prefer. The rest are up to you. So I would take lessons at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, trying to keep going with him. So we just kept going, and we got our first level and second level scores. But third level was really tough. We were having a really hard time accomplishing that. So luckily we moved to Maryland and found a trainer that was able to help us achieve those goals just a couple of weekends ago.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about your history coming to, breeding a horse, and when did you get involved into horses? Is this a lifelong endeavor, or how did you pick it up?
Yeah, so absolutely. At 18 months old, my mother likes to say, she put me on the back of a horse. It knew left, right, go, and stop, and I would ride it around and around and around and hold on. Of course, now, that would probably be frowned upon. But I've been involved in horses my whole life. I spent most of my younger years at Stonehurst Riding Club in Louisville, Kentucky, working off lessons and showing and being a, old school barn rat that would never go away. And Adrian bred a lot of horses there, and I saw my hunter dreams in what is now my horse's full sibling, and said, okay, well, this is the cross that I want to do, and the rest is history.
So, Sarah, you were talking about the challenges, and I think that the hardest challenge for the bronze medal is obviously third level, because the requirements are so much different for the horses. So tell us a little bit about how you work through those challenges at third level, the flying changes, the half pass, that type of thing.
Oh my goodness. So it was a huge challenge for us. And my trainer, Hilary Hebert, is my hero. It was so difficult for us. My horse, because of his breeding, has a special knack for evading with the shoulder. And over the last 2 years, she has just helped us so much, helped me to learn to understand when I really have him connected in the outside shoulder, and when he's just using that magical Frisian neck of his to pretend like I have the shoulder under control. So once we kind of got that sorted out, the half passes seem to come a lot easier, but the flying changes are still under construction, as I think maybe happens a lot in third level test one. That shows.
Yeah. You see lots of different things that may or may not be flying changes in that level and in that test. So it seems like you have a sense of humor about it, which is pretty good because it can get pretty frustrating.
Oh my goodness, yes. Well, and somehow I've managed to develop a really laid back attitude. I mean, in my mind, it's taken me 14 years to try and achieve this bronze medal because I was thinking it was a great idea when he was still in utero. But somehow I've developed a laid back attitude about the changes. Everything else, I'm sort of super type A, but it doesn't seem to get us anywhere if I stress out about the flying changes. And they're coming.
This takes time.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if maybe for our listeners and for us that maybe you could describe a little bit in detail about the shoulder problems that you've experienced and some maybe an exercise or two that that have worked for you or have worked for you and your horse.
Yeah, sure. So in my mind, I thought that I had to really hold the outside rein to try and manage the shoulder. I thought that so much of that was coming from my hand. And what I was able to learn through working with Hilary was that I really needed the body to be bending correctly. And so essentially what we worked on a lot was kind of doing like leg yield from the rail to the quarter line, and then maybe just doing shoulder in a little bit into the center down the rail. But really using my leg and not so much with my hand. I was just doing way too much with my hand. And Hilary likes to say, anytime you feel like you have a problem, for me, it's probably caused by my hand. But I thought that I was being very conservative, but I was hopelessly wrong.
I think it's caused by people who, everyone just wants to manipulate the world from their hands, right? You drive a car,
right,
you use a computer. I mean, it all comes from there. Whereas riding really is all about the body and connecting your body to the horse's body and feeling, through your seat, through your core, what's going on and the balance issues. And normally, your hands cause more problems than they really fix. So I think that's kind of a good tip for everybody and to help their riding and help figure out all the lateral moves, which can get very complicated, the higher you go
very
up through
quickly, very quickly, yeah.
And many times the horses think they're doing it right, and then the rider thinks they're doing it right, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, let's go, and you have to go back to square one all the time.
I feel like I've gone back to square one so many times, but I think that's part of the thing about dressage that everybody loves. You can always
go back. You can always go back to see.
Whatsoever.
You can always go back. So Sarah, what's next for you guys?
Oh my goodness. So after I found out I got the score for my bronze and I finished weeping hopelessly, people started asking me that. Actually, it was so fun. My husband was there at the show, and as soon as I found out that I had gotten the score so that I could get the medal, I just started bawling, crying, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." And I said, "I didn't even cry at our wedding." And as he started stroking my hair, he goes, "I know, honey, I know."
That's a funny story.
Oh, poor guy.
But so as far as what's next, I think we're gonna try and work on third too. So canter half pass is still a challenge for us. Hilary is way more optimistic than me. She thinks maybe scores towards the silver medal are possible, but I feel like I've worked so hard and so long towards getting the bronze that after this, I'm going to let Garth tell us what's next and how far we can go. So every day is a gift after this. And when he says, "I've had enough, I'd like a junior to lease me," then he will be available to pursue his own interests.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for coming on our show and sharing your journey with us. It's always so fun to hear how everybody makes their dreams happen. And congratulations again.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really great. Thanks.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, today, Phil, for our Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, we were chatting a little bit about this off air, and there was a great little blurb in Dressage Today. So I wanted to talk about kind of finding some grant money, and there are other ways to do this, but there's some great tips in Dressage Today and from the Dressage Foundation. And one of the things that I learned at the USDF convention is a lot of the money that the Dressage Foundation raises goes unused. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I think that's kind of true in general. I've heard many, cases of grants and things, money from schools, and we have some small ones in Canada too. That just some grants for juniors, for some grants for other riders to get more education and all kinds of things. And people just don't send in applications.
Right.
For whatever reason, they think that, there's too many people applying. I don't have a chance. I don't, just, not getting in front of a computer and writing out a little application. Mm-hmm. And then there's all this money that nobody gets that, you could have had. I know that you've received a couple of grants, Reese.
I have.
But you don't have to be a super duper superstar like you, because there's money out there for everyone, for adult amateurs, for juniors. You just have to do a little research, fill out a form, or have somebody recommend you. I know I wrote you a recommendation for the Dressage Foundation not too long ago. I don't mind doing that, No,
we don't mind. I mean,
you asked me, you said, and I said, sure, of course I'm going to help out a friend or a student or, somebody I know that, there is money out there, right?
There's money out there. And you think it's silly, but, my goodness, I have been very lucky. I won a grant for it was just for certified instructors to carry on with their continuing education a couple years ago, and it was tremendously helpful to pay, because not only when we travel are you do expensive travel and loss of income, but you have to pay for training. So that was fantastic. And then the one Philip was speaking about was for also continuing education for the FEI certification. And it will help pay for all of the workshops that I have to attend to get that certification. So it's worth your time. So what this article was about was, if you go to the Dressage Foundation website, www.dressagefoundation.org, they have tons of grants. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to see which application, or sort of, are you a certified instructor? Are you a technical delegate? Are you a junior? How does that work? Not only is there money through the Dressage Foundation, but some local GMOs have grants that they get. If you don't receive the grants through the GMOs, I would ask your GMO, or maybe help set up a scholarship fund, because our local GMOs in Kentucky both have and they're great, and sometimes you have to write an article or talk about something at the annual meeting, but typically they're not terrible requests to get money back. So to do the applications, this were just a couple things the Dressage Foundation just recommended that you do, and that is begin the process early. Don't wait to the last minute to start your application. And it depends on the grant that you're receiving or trying to apply for the Dressage Foundation when those come up, but they come up quickly, and you really should just pay attention to that. Review the grant requirements thoroughly. Make sure that a particular grant is a good fit for your needs. Because obviously, if you're an adult amateur, don't apply for a junior grant. You won't get it. But certainly, if you have some other certifications, technical delegate, certified instructors, that opens a whole nother pool for you. Be clear and concise. Answer questions in a thorough way, but stay on topic. Proofread, which is very funny because when I'm at UK and I'm teaching my students, I remind them of this, is that you want to proofread what you're doing. Review your budget. So typically a lot of those grants will ask for a budget. So if you're going somewhere to travel for a week, you want to make sure that you do a decent budget and a realistic budget. Don't put $5 down for dinner. I mean, maybe you want to go to McDonald's.
Or $1,000, right?
Or $1,000, right? I mean, it goes either way.
One way or the other way. Yeah.
Make it a reasonable budget, a reasonable, if you're traveling for a grant, you don't have to eat at McDonald's the whole time. Not that McDonald's is bad, but it's not the most healthy for sure. But anyways, review your budget. And then, if you have questions like the Dressage Foundation, they're fantastic and they will answer questions for you. And you want to answer, go through answering those questions and call them because they will answer it. But I hope those are some tips. I mean, this is the time of year where it's fun to organize with your trainer to go visit and train a little bit with them. It also helps with planning for the fall if you're going to regionals or, hopefully to nationals.
Shows and stuff like
horse
this.
shows. Yeah, it's very expensive. And, these grants are out there for everybody. So I hope that helps and that everybody goes and we, use this money that's out there just sitting there that doesn't get used. So that would be great. Well, everybody, remember, we love your email and Facebook shout outs. We're going to get to some more listener questions next week. And you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is on Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.